Liberators of Latin America, Pedro I.
Since Brazil had been discovered by the Portuguese in the 16th century, the governing of this land had largely been up to this European nation. However, American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the Enlightenment changed ideas about who should control the government. Ideas of liberty, equality, and democratic rule started to affect European colonies and led to liberations. Our project's liberator is Pedro I, and he led the liberation of Brazil, which was a colony of Portuguese. He wanted to liberate Brazil because he did not like the idea of Brazil being a colony. He liberated Brazil to keep Brazil independent and to not be affected by other countries.
Our next slide is the Latin American social structure chart. First on the chart is Peninsulares. The Peninsulares were born in Spain, but lived in New Spain. They could own land and hold political power. Our symbol for the Peninsulares is a crown, indicating that they are very high up on the chart. Second is the Creoles. The Creoles were Spaniard-born and raised. They were wealthy but held less political power than the Peninsulares. For our symbol, we have a money sign to indicate that they were very wealthy. Next is the Mestizos. The Mestizos have no political power. They are a mix of European and New Spain. For our symbol, we have a voting sign and a crossed out sign to indicate that they couldn't vote since they have no political power. Next is the Native Indians. The Native Indians were made up of Aztecs and other groups. For our symbol, we have corn to represent that they made corn as one of their crops. Next is slaves. The slaves were made up of Indians and African Americans. Slaves were treated very poorly. For our symbol, we have a broom indicating that they had to clean up after everyone and were the lowest on the charts. That is the Latin American social structure chart.
Pedro I. Pedro helped achieve independence for Brazil. He was born on October 12, 1798, and died on September 24, 1834. Pedro was the founder of the Brazilian Empire and the first emperor of Brazil from 1822 to 1831. His real name was Dom Pedro. His nickname was the Liberator. When Pedro's country was invaded by the French troops in 1807, he and his family fled to Brazil. He was a very powerful man despite the fact that he was the emperor. Besides having all the power, he gave people the gift of freedom. This shows that not only Pedro was a powerful ruler, but he was a great person. The map of Brazil. Pedro I was the founder and first ruler of the Emperor of Brazil. Some unique facts about him is that, not like most other liberators who were Creoles, he was a Peninsulares. Even though he was quite liberal and favored a strong constitution and the abolition of slavery, he was constantly criticized by Brazilian liberals, and he died of tuberculosis. He was a figure who helped spread the liberal ideals that allowed Brazil and Portugal to move from absolutism to representative forms of government, and he is best remembered as the man who declared Brazil independent from Portugal in 1822.